Welcome to the Knoy Church podcast. We're glad that you're interested in connecting through this teaching time. If you'd like to connect further, feel free to reach out to us through our website, knoychurch.org. For now, enjoy this teaching from Knoy Church, where our mission is to lead people into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ.
Morning. Have you ever thought much about your place in this world, your place in life? I think it's something that we all grapple with. I think we all want to have significance in the world. We all want to do something great and wonderful with our lives. And for some of us, the dream is as big as becoming the president of the country. And for some of us, the dream is as big as being the most incredible father or mother and having children. No dream is small. Every dream is wonderful. The thing that is interesting to me is how often we seem to get caught up in our dreams and how much God seems to want to kind of turn that on its head. You know, in the Bible, there's this story of a guy named Joseph, and God had given him this incredible gift of being able to understand and interpret dreams. But the very first dream that Joseph has as a teenage boy is this picture that God gives him of his family like bowing down to him. You know, he's the youngest of many brothers. And so imagine your youngest sibling coming to you and saying, someday you're all going to bow to me like I'm the king. And of course, your oldest brother is going to be really frustrated and upset by that. Can't believe what you're saying, of course. Well, Joseph kind of shares this dream in a way that's a little condescending. It's kind of immature. He could have done it a little bit differently. Doesn't change the fact that the dream was true. If you fast forward Joseph's life, he goes through this entire process of being sold into slavery and then being put into prison and eventually actually being second in charge of all of Egypt under Pharaoh. And when that happens, a famine strikes the land. His family, who doesn't even know that he's still alive, they come to Egypt for help. He recognizes them, but they don't recognize him. And yes, they actually do bow down to him. So the dream is true, but the way that he shared the dream, the way that he kind of held on to the dream so tightly when he was a teenage boy wasn't helpful to the situation. In fact, it created division. You know, I used to have this dream of being a professional race car driver. You may not know this, but I grew up racing cars. And I thought there's nothing in this world I would want more than to be a race car driver. Like, that's how I make my living, that I could be a champion, that people would know who I am, they'd know my name. I had that dream for a long time. And then one day, I got a job offer from a church to come and be the youth pastor there. And that required me to be there on Sundays. Church is, after all, on Sundays. But so is racing. And I had a decision to make. I could hold on really tightly to the dream that I have had for so many years, and I could say no to what felt like where God was calling me. I mean, it felt like God was calling me into ministry. But I had this dream, and they were going in opposite directions. So what do? I said goodbye to a dream. Does that mean that the dream will never happen? It doesn't necessarily. Seems highly unlikely because I don't race cars anymore. So the likelihood of me becoming a professional race car driver is slim to none. But what's important is I'm not holding on so tightly to that dream that I am unwilling to give it up for where God is moving me and calling me to. If I hadn't given it up to become a youth pastor, well, there's no way that I would have become the executive director of a local Bible camp or the senior pastor of a local church. Those were stepping stones. That was God helping me kind of work my faith out in fear and trembling to figure out which call was more important to my heart, which call was going to have my heart, God's call on my life or my own dreams. You know, we tend to have these dreams and kind of like a bar of wet soap. The tighter we hold on to them, the more easily they kind of shoot right out of our hand. Sometimes we have dreams, and when we talk about them, when we pursue them, We do it in a way that doesn't honor those around us, kind of like Joseph did initially. Joseph got better at it. God gave him the gift of interpretation, and there was many times in many places, including with Pharaoh himself, where God gave him the opportunity to use this gift in a whole new way, and he did. He followed God's call. Now, here's another way that this whole thing works out. When I took that job as a youth pastor, I got to work on staff with a pastor who was 50 years older than I was, who had actually been a youth pastor. He had extensive outdoor knowledge, leading trips all over the place. He had even helped out designing college programs. He had been the executive director of this Bible camp that I'd gone to as a kid for a long time. And he was a pastor on staff at this church. He was wise. I got to work with him and build a relationship with him that was that of a mentor, became that of a friend. And something that he used to say to me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one because of how many people he impacted. He would say, trust your compass. For Father's Day this year, my wife got me a compass as a gift. And Jean would say, trust your compass. Because your compass, even when you get spun around in the woods and you're not sure which way to go, your compass points north. Your compass can lead you home. And the way that we ground ourselves in Scripture and the way that we ground ourselves with our relationship with God is very much like our compass. When we understand that the dreams that we've been given, the gifts that we've been given, are less about us and they're more about the way we interact with the world, that they're more about how God can work through us, that sometimes when we stop chasing them so with all of our might, God gives us a vision and a dream that is better than we could have imagined. Well, our compass helps us find that way. It leads us in that way. Trust your compass. I don't know what your dreams are. Maybe you struggle to have dreams. Maybe you don't feel like you're allowed to have dreams, depending on the situation that you're in. Maybe your dream is something which feels really complicated to you, but some people in the rest of the world feel like it's the most simple thing in the world, like a paycheck. Don't be afraid of your dreams. Don't be afraid to chase them. But remember that God probably has a dream in store for you that's different from what you expect. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. He doesn't say that your dreams are the way, the truth, and the life. He says, I am, which means that Jesus has to be first. When we consider what we're chasing, we consider where we're going, when we begin to trust our compass, Jesus has to be first because he is the way, he is the truth, and he is the life. And when our life is in him, the dreams that we will hear and see and accomplish are so much greater and so much bigger and so much more beautiful than what we thought we would accomplish without him. Quarantine is coming to a close, at least here in Lancaster County. We're moving into the green zone in a few days, which means more things will open up and life will continue to get back to normal. And my guess is, as things get back to normal, there might be a few less people logging on to church services. There may be a few less people who have time to catch these devotionals. There might be more hours to pull at the office. There might be overtime to work. There might be dreams to start chasing again. So work your hours. Get paid. Chase your dreams. But ahead of all of that, in submission, chase Jesus first. Because when you submit that paycheck and that job and that dream to Jesus, he turns it upside down in a way that you could never imagine. And taking that first step to choose between this dream and that dream. It doesn't just lead you on a job where youth pastor to executive director of a nonprofit to senior pastor. Because, hey, that's cool. But what's cooler than that is along the way you get to meet people like Gene, people who will forever impact your life, whose words you'll never forget, who will tell you to trust your compass. Just make sure your compass is Jesus. Have a great day.
Hi, this is Pastor Nick. Thanks for listening. I hope something that you heard today was very helpful. If you want to connect with us further, feel free to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or our website, canoychurch.org. Sure, I'm glad we're in this together.